very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
Really?
Brexit means Brexit.
Why?
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
China.
What?
China.
What?
China.
We looked at the dining table and saw an opportunity to play with whack.
Strong and stable.
Stood alone last night as
Kipper, you are fake news.
Why?
There's a reality maybe that you don't know what is going on, but people won't be able to tell the difference.
No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible.
Why? Just why?
Hello, good people, and welcome back to Why Just Why. You are joining us for our fourth and final episode on Brexit. I know we are all chuffed to hear that it's going to be ending soon. Well, at least the series is, because Brexit isn't going to end any time, really, within the next 10 years. Let's face it, this shit's going to be going on for a while. Joining me, as always, is, to my left, I have Ian Reynolds.
Hey guys.
To my right, I have Mr. Dave Tinsley.
What's up, fellas?
And I am...
Just the fellas. Ladies, not tonight.
No, ladies. No ladies, just fellas. And I am Craig Taylor. Welcome back to the Why Just Why podcast. We're getting to be old hands at this now. It's getting, yeah.
I'm just in my head there. It was like, I'm Craig Taylor, the Randy Sailor.
Car mateys, and welcome to our podcast.
Just why?
Exactly.
Where did that even come from?
Right you are.
Fucking yar. Right, so where we left off last week was the end of the reign of May. For anyone who's joining us again, thanks for coming back. We know that was a tough sell.
We're sorry.
We are. We're sorry. So sorry. It had to be told. It did have to be told. It wasn't the best, most interesting thing in the world, because let's face it, she's not that very interesting of a person.
No,
The most evil thing she ever done was run through a field of fucking wheat. What can you say about it?
Do you know, after that episode, I went home. And do you know when you feel, all the things, but do you know when you feel like you want to, I just didn't have the energy to. I didn't have the, I sat there and stared into space, just
Waiting
just
for
quiet.
Just slowly waiting for the warm embrace of death.
You were cutting onions, not happening. Listening to sad songs, just couldn't get it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Just in a loop on my head.
I've come to talk with you again.
It's like a Run of Fiend, that song, isn't it? I'm sure we've had that in a previous episode as well.
Yeah, it's because it's a boss song.
Well, usually the cat will come in and, like, when you walk in,
What,
the cat will
start
look at you
singing
and go,
Hello, Dog?
It's time to be a sad song, Ian.
hello, my darling, hello, my baby.
Just standing up on two legs doing it.
I would come in and be like, and I walked through the door and he went, oh shit, alright, I'll leave you today. He just walked off and went around the corner and went, oh, bless him.
He's had a rough day, bless him.
Got me a cup of tea.
Yeah, that episode was tough though.
But thanks guys for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again.
That one guy who is listening to us still.
Yeah. Right, so back to where we're up to. Miss May has done a whole lot of nothing since she's been in power, and she's finally decided, I'm done with this shit, and jibbed it.
Yeah, threw in the towel and fucked off. Mm-hmm. Ding dong, the bitch is gone. Fucking say he's done.
To be fair, you know, the entire time she was in, I had no sympathy for her. But then when she left, I was like, you poor cow.
Look, do you know, at the start I had sympathy for her, right? Because I didn't know too much about her. When it started off at time, I thought, do you know what? She's walked into a bit of a shitstorm. And
oh yeah, she was given the poison chalice. Jesus Christ. Anyone who picked that up at that point, that was just...
And then that little ratty panic expression she's always got on her face, like...
Was that a genuine snort? She just makes me... just looking at her face just makes me go...
It's my reaction to it. You see the rats go...
Most pathetic rat ever.
But I thought, like, that's just a look of proper, like, fear, like...
Yeah.
And then I just realised, no, she's just a rat. She's just the queen rat.
You can't feel sorry for her after that robot dance when she walked out.
Oh, the
to
robot
that podium,
dance. Oh.
to Abbott or something.
But yeah. Okay, she's gone now.
Yeah.
She's gone, folks. We're not going to talk about it again. We might mention it on there.
Yeah,
But
we might. Well, she's gone from the post. She's still a politician, so I think we're gonna have to mention her every now and again, but not as much as if she was PM, thankfully.
So, what's the subject today then, guys?
Now, we're going to go on to what happened after she buggered off.
Quite a lot and revolving around one particular guy who's been a kind of recurring figure during this series.
Yeah.
Kind of like the turd who won't flush.
Well, we had to, the Conservatives, I'm not Conservative. No! I take it back. It's a lie. Can't prove nothing. delete the goddamn.
You know what? I always suspected it of him.
That's why I sit there, just away from him.
I beat off over the rat queen.
The rat queen. So go on.
The Conservatives needed a new leader. A few people started running. And then
From
the rat queen.
Yeah, there wasn't a hell of a lot of phenomenally good candidates at this point.
Yeah, not a lot.
No.
There's only one really that was going to get it. And he did. We got to some of the candidate names.
There's
It's things like off the top of my head, I actually can't name any. Right, none stick out in my head.
Oh, I can name a few, but again, let's go
man.
to our resident, the voice of the common person, our resident, well, lazy bastard because he does no research, Dave Tinsley. So
that's very true.
Who do you know realistically? So if you think back to 2019, 2019 Conservative leadership race. How many of them have we had in the past bloody 5 years? Think of who the candidates were. Can you name any other than the obvious one who won, Boris Johnson?
I remember the faces, not the names. One was Saeed Javid.
Close enough,
Am I saying
Sajid Javed.
That's Javed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was the Home
butchered that
Secretary at
name,
the time.
I butchered it. Yeah. And was another one, Dominic Raab.
Oh my God.
Whoa!
Surprised you bitches.
But yeah, so Dominic Raab. Any others can you name?
Our mate Gove again.
Yeah, Gove was back in there, the slimy little Weasley Weasel himself.
How many was there?
There was about 10. I think it was exactly 10 actually.
How many do we have to name?
As many as you can.
Oh God. Yeah.
You get 2 more, you get a beer.
Oh yes. Must think really hard. Jeremy Hunt.
That's one name that he's known as.
we will allow it.
But these
Allow it.
This is only because I remember some of these names from the last couple of podcasts.
Time's running out, lad.
One more.
One more.
Oh,
One more.
I don't know his name, but the fella who he was like in charge of like the Justice Department, I think it was, or something. But I can't remember his name.
No, we need a name. No name, no beer.
Oh, you guys are the worst.
You guys suck.
No, I'll just have to go without the beer. Go on.
Can't think of any?
No, but you know what I'm talking about though? He was in charge of like the prisons and things.
If you know the colour of his eyes, you get a beer.
Blue.
Yeah. That's a mad guess, that.
Okay, right. I'll put you out of your misery. I might be nice. You might get a beer later on. Because to all our listeners, on the date of recording this, it's actually soon to be Dave's birthday, so I think he deserves a beer.
Yeah.
You can have a birthday beer.
Birthday beer in the back.
Birthday beer. Right, so I'll run through the list. We have Mr. Boris Johnson, who we know and despise. Sajid Javed, who was a former banker who decided to throw his hand in at being Home Secretary because that's apparently what happens in politics. We have Michael Gove, who, again, we all love and despise. He really loves himself some Coke, though. We have Jeremy Hunt, the man who I credit with the systematic disassembly of our NHS over the past few years.
Yeah. He was the one who was really close to to win, weren't it? Him and Boris.
He was one of the last ones to be in the race. Yeah, he was. I wouldn't say he was close to winning. I think Boris had it from the get go, but he was probably the closest behind Boris.
But Boris decimated. He had I think it was just under 160,000 votes.
Yeah.
And he got over 92,000. So Boris just Boris ran away with it.
Absolutely ran away with it. Absolutely ran away with it. Then we've got Dominic Raab. So he was the former Brexit secretary. He's
The former what?
the former Brexit secretary. So he was one of the guys who was responsible for delivering Brexit under Theresa May.
Right, okay.
Which he did a fantastic job at,
Oh, yeah,
as you can see. As you can see, seeing as we've left the European Union and everything's great at the minute. Then we've got Matt Hancock. Does anyone know who he is?
No.
No, neither does anyone else in the world, which is why he never got in. Then we have Rory Stewart, probably the nicest Conservative guy you would ever see on anything ever.
He's the one I was thinking of before.
Rory Stewart.
Yeah, that name, recognise it.
He loves him some Twitter, Rory Stewart. If you see some of his videos where he goes out into his constituency and he talks to the common person, it's quite funny. He's like,
I spoke to some commoners today.
he basically puts himself onto Facebook Live. He's like, I'm going to walk around the people. If anyone has any issues, they can come and see me. I'll be the one wearing the monocle.
Just keep a sticks distance.
Yeah. Is that why you call him the nicest guy? Because he does stuff like that?
He just actually engages with people. He seems to be...
Like he's out there.
Yeah, he seems to be a Tory who actually seems to, care. Really,
seems being the key word.
He might do. You never know. There's stranger things that have happened.
Sounds like he's still doing a bit more than some others.
Oh yeah, he is doing quite a bit more than others. Then we had Andrea Leadsom, who was in the previous race. Who I'm bloody glad that she didn't get in because she's just a nutbag. Then there was Mark Harper. He was a whip under David Cameron. Which
an actual whip.
An actual whip. I mean, where David Cameron's concerned as well, it may be the pigskin whip.
He loves that whip.
He loves that whip.
We already discussed what they do, haven't we? We already mentioned the fact that everyone out there is listening. They are basically just the bully boys.
Yeah, they turn around and tell everyone basically how they're going to vote. That's what their job is. But again, no one knew who he was. He was never getting in. And then finally, we had Esther McVeigh, former journalist, bit of an annoying pain in the arse.
Is she the one at the chat show? Was it
Yes, that was it. And she's from Merseyside, which should make me like her. It really doesn't.
Oh, right, okay.
There wasn't really a very good choice of people during that leadership race.
No, we didn't have a choice in the matter to be able to vote for it, did we?
No, it's all the Conservative Party members. If you're a party member, then you get to vote.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, the reason that it ended up being like that is because Theresa May actually resigned, and parliamentary procedure, which we will cover in a future episode at some point, is not like the American presidential race. The Prime Minister is elected in by the amount of the same party members being elected into Parliament. So if your party has the most members, the chances are your leader will be Prime Minister. Now, it doesn't always happen, but again, I'm not going to go into the complicated matters behind it. Whereas if a president in America left, then they would have to elect a new president, and the people would do that. Because it's not like that, the party who's in charge basically just chooses a new leader. For this Prime Minister, so for Boris to be our Prime Minister, none of the public actually voted for him. It was only members of the Conservative Party who voted Boris in.
We don't vote for an actual Prime Minister. We vote for a party to lead. So whoever that, and it's down to that party to pick their own representative.
Yeah, we vote individual MPs into individual areas, and then whoever has the most that goes in as Prime Minister. Honestly.
Fascinating. You didn't make that sound quite boring, like.
It's because it's parliamentary procedure. It's not supposed to be interesting.
Please put some explosions in there. Sound effects. Right, so Boris wins. Let's actually have a look at Boris, look at his background, where he come from. So his name, what's his name?
Oh yeah, so this is the thing, everyone calls him Boris Johnson. His name isn't Boris Johnson, his name is Alexander Johnson, right? So his name should be Alex, but specifically his name is Alexander Boris Defeffel Johnson.
See, do you know what? The thing is, though, he could get you if you said Alex, right? That's more of that could be used as working class and middle class, and he'd hit more notes.
Yeah,
and then Johnson as well.
Yeah, Johnson's it's a standard name.
Yeah.
It's fairly common.
Alex Johnson, that's the mid-range. You know, he can hit the middle class and thingy. But he's went for Boris. He chose Boris because I think it just stands out. It's a different name.
Yeah.
I think he's chose it so he stands out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And I think he should have went for the Pfeffel as well. I think he should have went Boris the Pfeffel.
Not the Pfeffel, no.
It's just all of the names.
It would have warned us away from it. It would have warned so many people. The Pfeffel, ooh.
Alt Pfeff.
but he's tactically chose which names to use there, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, he's tactically chose which. But this is the thing with him is that
just alert you to anyone thinks he's daft.
Yeah, the type of person
he's not
he is.
daft. He really isn't. Like he's.
Oh yeah.
Well, a bit on his background. I know we've mentioned previously snippets of Boris's background, but he is a very highly educated person. He's a very highly educated person. He comes from high stock in terms of family. He's
he's a good breed.
He's a good breed. He's one of those.
It's a fine animal here.
He is literally from the same school where the phrase old school tie comes from. He went to Eton College, which is basically the poshest college.
Is that the equivalent to Harvard in America?
Now, Harvard's more of a university. Well, Harvard is a university. Eton College is what you do before university, so that would prepare you to go on to another university, which Boris did. He went to Balliol College, Oxford, which is the equivalent of Harvard,
right?
Where he studied the classics of all things.
What's that?
The classics. I love this. It's a study of ancient Rome, Greek, and Latin.
Really interesting stuff.
Is it just a posh word for history?
Well, he covers
no, it's specifically
Roman, Greek, and Latin, covering languages. And technically political procedures.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Okay.
Which
only apply in ancient Rome and Greece.
How many stones do you throw at, like, a thief or something? Do you know? which is what is maybe his view for the country. He's going to slowly move towards.
Is that why he thinks Great Britain should be great still? Because it's like he's still got that old mentality.
But Boris himself, I mean, he didn't get tarred with the same brush that, say, David Cameron did, because David Cameron went to Eton as well, and during his time in Eton, they were actually pals in Eton.
Little buddies.
But this is the thing with Boris, is that he's shrewd. He knows full well that if he acts like an idiot and he paints himself to be a bit of a dope, people won't see him in the same light as Mr. Posh Boy Cameron. They'll see him as, oh, well, he's just one of us, isn't he? He's a straight-talking guy. He makes a couple of gaffes. He does some random things. No, he knows exactly what he's doing.
The general public, for some reason, love a tit. They love someone who's a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, we love a klutz, don't we? We just love, like, someone who's just a bumbling idiot or comes across as a bumbling idiot.
Yeah, well, I think Joey Essex, for example, the lad is absolutely minted now.
Yeah.
And he's nowhere near as dumb.
Oh no, he plays up to it. He is dumb, but he's not as dumb as he plays up.
Do you know what I mean? And he really plays that. And everyone's going, ha ha, it's so funny. You think it's funny that, like, he can, like, get confused between, like, as, like, I don't know, a shoe and a fucking sock or something stupid. Like quite literally, this is
put a sock on his head.
That's like the level of dumb shit. I'll put my shoe on and then a sock over the shoe. Ah.
Yeah, because it's like he goes on to things and he gets presented with a pug or something. He goes,
oh, what's that? That's a weird animal. I've never seen one of those things. Why has it got 4 legs?
And he's got a pug.
He's got 4.
But they all have 3 legs in full fit.
But it's the same with Boris Johnson. His sister, there was an interview that he did, part of a documentary, and his sister was on this documentary as well. And I love it whenever his sister opens her mouth, because she basically just drops him in it. She really just drops him in it. She just doesn't give no fucks and will just go, yeah, Boris is a tit. He knows exactly what he's doing. And that's basically what she did on this interview. She turned around and went, when he was in Eton, he realised that he could get more laughs on stage when he didn't learn his lines. Say he was in an ancient Greek play, and this is what she said. Say he was performing in an ancient Greek play. He wouldn't learn his lines, and instead he'd hide behind a pillar on stage, clearly visible with the script in his hand, reading them out to the crowd, and the crowd would be laughing their heads off. So he knew he could get a better reaction by doing that.
That is a proper middle class thing to laugh at, you know. That is like,
I know,
hey,
it's
that's
not
so
funny, is it?
tame, That's a proper.
It's just like, oh, where's the joke?
Where's the joke? That idiot didn't learn his lines. Why is it still funny? It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like, you go, what the fuck's he doing?
Yeah.
All right, lad, what are you doing?
Yeah, you just
Fuck
like,
off.
Yeah, I've come to watch a play, not to listen to some idiot standing behind a pillar.
Oh, this is a play.
But this is where he's learnt it. He's learnt this kind of, if I act like a bit of a tit, and if I ruffle my hair up a bit and wear my tie crooked and just say random things which are slightly offensive but not offensive enough to get me sacked,
Yeah.
then I'll get further on, and I'll get further on quick as well.
It's worked, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's worked. It's definitely bloody worked. I mean, the thing with it is that he's done this since he's been in the public eye.
Yeah.
His first job, he went into journalism, and he began at the Times and then was sacked for falsifying a quotation, which he doubled down on as well. It's like he got caught for falsifying this quotation, and instead of apologising and retracting it, he went, well, no one's to say that it didn't happen like that. It could have. And they were like, right, okay, out the door you go.
So, no, it's fine, it's fine.
And then he became the Daily Telegraph's Brussels correspondent. This is where he started becoming the Eurosceptic that we know and love. It's one of his main quotes, which we've handily included in the title song for our podcast, is "Britain stood alone today." And that was in basically every frigging article that he wrote, where it was like, Britain stood alone today as the European Union tried to ban bent bananas, or
proper pro-Brit, like trying to get people on his side, like, cause
rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves.
He listens to that in the morning, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
He's got his puts his slippers on with the Union Jacks on. He's got a picture of the Queen and a big flag, and he just gets up, plays it, and just a little tear comes down every time with
just saluting it.
See, this is the thing, is I don't even know if he's that bloody patriotic.
Cup of saucer like that, just.
I think that's just. I think that's just an act as well. It's like, I don't even think he's that patriotic.
Do you reckon he gets in just like, oh, fucking bastards.
Just lets out a big dirty fart and, let loose now.
Like proper comedy, like,
just
gets in and goes, oh, these fucking wankers.
Like,
Oh, I'm sick of these fucking British bastards.
fucking stinks in this house. Is that you love? Fucking hell.
Basically French. I will have England once more.
Yeah.
France will have his revenge.
Well, speaking on his
heritage.
because this was a funny one that I discovered while I was researching him. So one of the main things when Boris was part of the Leave campaign, he was saying that one of the big reasons that we want to leave the EU is because Turkey was joining. Now, Turkey has been trying to join the EU for many years, decades in fact. Turkey's been trying to join the EU.
They haven't been successful.
He reckons the reason we want to leave is because Turkey...
Yes, because he didn't want Turkey to join the EU, because then the Turkish people would have free movement, and he thought there was going to be a flood of Turkish people trying to get into the UK.
It's going to be kebabs everywhere.
Kebabs everywhere. And he was basically slating them. Now, the thing with it is that Turkey has been trying to join for decades. They are not getting in anytime soon because essentially they're under virtually a dictator at the moment.
Right.
They don't hit any of the points which would enable them to join the EU, and, well, they're not getting in.
Is it like they're asking, can we join? And we go, no.
Basically, basically they're asking and we go no. And the thing about it was as well,
they're just like, okay, we'll ask again next.
well, this is a stupid thing.
Can we join now?
He was turning around.
We've changed.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
We're sorry. Well, this is the thing, is that he was turning around and he was saying that, we wouldn't be able to stop them from joining the EU when we could. As a member of the EU, Britain got a veto. They got a veto. No, not even a vote. They got a veto.
Yeah.
They could turn around and go, no, they're not coming in. And then they go, okay, they're not coming in.
Yeah, because isn't that the point of it?
Well, yeah, that's the point of it. But here's where it gets funny, is that Boris Johnson is descended from Turkish people.
Really, yeah?
Yeah,
Fuck off.
it is down his lineage. I think.
Feffel, is it proper Turkish name? This is Muhammad the Fifth.
It actually works. That flows really well.
It does flow. No, it's what I think it was his great grandfather was a high-ranking member of the Ottoman Empire, which became Turkey.
God.
Honest to God, he is
my God.
descended from Turkey.
He's just like proper born like blue blood, isn't he? Like,
Oh yeah, totally. But it was his great grandfather or something was a member of the Ottoman Empire, and he was Turkish. So after he was given loads, the Turkish saying, "I would never let them in." Rabble. And then someone went, "You're descended from Turkish people, are you not?" And he's like, "Mugwump."
Mugwump!
And it's just, yeah, he's an arse. What can you say? But then his time as foreign secretary, it's like there's so many things that we could pick out on Boris Johnson. We could probably do a series on Boris Johnson and his gaffes and stuff he's taken credit for when he's not done anything about. The thing we mentioned in one of our previous episodes about the Leave campaign bus, and it was just complete and utter lies,
well,
and he
the
just
350
doubled down
million
on it.
again.
Yeah. He had an affair for like 4 years with someone. He got sacked over lying about that. He claimed all of the stuff that happened in London, like getting rid of the bendy buses, was his idea, when it was already on the pipeline. He's been all of the bikes in London are nicknamed Boris bikes when he wasn't the one who instigated them in the first place.
Was he even just the stuff, the shit like, the little kid who got full-blown rugby tackle?
Oh, that was that is a
remember that.
brutal video. Yeah, he's playing rugby with like 5-year-olds, and he just goes bump and just belly bounces this kid halfway across the ground.
Was it soccer aid that he was in as well? And he just double-footed. He started. Who was he? Oh fuck! I can't what player he went into. But he just run in double-footed and tried to run away.
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
He just walked away like, oops, that wasn't me.
Yeah, still denied even that.
He's just a fucking liar.
Yeah.
That's what
He is. But then even some of the stupid
top
stuff he's
liar,
done.
though.
It's like when he was mayor, he bought water cannons to aid the riot police, which were illegal to use in the UK. So they ended up sitting in storage for years and then getting scrapped for 10 grand. He spent £300,000 on them. He basically just pissed £300,000 up the wall on a water cannon that was never ever going to be used.
This is the matter. You got someone like that in power who doesn't know that. Like, what the fuck? Like, actually,
It just sounds like he's so out of touch. It's unreal, doesn't he?
it does make it. I am baffled how someone. It's the problem with politics. Someone like that can be fit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is it, is that people see him and think, oh, well, he's funny, isn't he? And then that's all that it takes. That's literally all that
I
it
feel
takes.
like that. Yeah, that's what works these days, even more than ever, doesn't it?
It's association, isn't it? And then people say, "Why is the country falling apart? Why is it?" Because you dick, have voted in another dick.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't voted is usually the way.
Yeah. So
yeah.
we'll
That's annoying when people just don't vote and then
Well, what's the point of voting anyway?
Yeah.
Yes, but the idea is you pick the least idiot, do you know what I mean? And hope they do something right.
Well, I'll tell you another one as well, is that I'm going to play you a clip now of Boris Johnson and his opinions on the EU at the time. And it was filmed in 2013.
How would you vote tomorrow if there was a referendum?
I'd vote to stay in the single market. I'm in favour of the single market. I want to be I want us to be able to trade freely with our European friends and partners.
Now, does that sound like the guy who, as the time of recording a few weeks ago, was saying, we just need to leave, let's fuck off everything, fuck the EU, fuck them all? It's not, he's just...
He is so flippant.
He is, he's so flippant.
Just before Theresa May left, he said, we are not leaving the EU. On the 31st, we will have an agreement and it's getting pushed through. And then next thing, literally a few weeks later, he's saying, no, we're out, we're leaving.
Yeah.
It's the best thing for us. It's what the British public want. That's what he's actually saying. He does actually say it in his... we'll cover it later. He says it in a letter. It's what the British public want.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a bit. But he is just so flippant.
Well, here's another example. So I'll play you another clip of an example of Boris Johnson being flippant. So Boris and Trump are like BFFs, are they not?
Oh, yeah, right.
We know that Boris and Trump are like best friends forever.
Okay, actual quote from Trump, by the way.
Right, go on.
When Boris got in, he said, they call him Britain Trump. That's a good thing.
I can hear that in Trump's voice so much as well. You know?
This is the best thing of all things ever.
Like, literally, like, absolutely.
They call him Britain Trump.
I like
That's a
it.
good thing.
Not even like, especially, it's so like, his mind's like so warped. Like, the fact that you can't even say British, Britain Trump.
Britain
If you
Trump.
actually watch him,
Yeah.
like,
That is a Britain Trump.
he sounds more mentally damaged than me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he struggles to formulate sentences worse than I do. Like,
Well, he probably
that's saying so.
he probably doesn't even think that it's British. He probably thinks that everything sounds the same as America. So, like, someone from America is an American. So he probably thinks we're Britannicans.
Yeah, Britannicans, we speak Britain.
Yeah, we speak Britain.
That Britain language, it's a funny thing, isn't it, right?
Them people from England land, they're all Englandicans.
And then
Yeah, they all speak American.
they'll speak.
Isn't it funny
That's
how
annoying,
all
that,
those,
isn't it?
all those guys from Britannican land speak American?
Do you know what? At some point, I reckon he said that I speak
It wouldn't
American.
surprise me. I speak American.
I am American. I speak American. I live American.
Well,
I eat American.
So while we're talking about Trump and his budding bromance with Boris Johnson, let's hear from Boris Johnson himself on Trump.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind. If you think that's a sensible way to proceed, you can't ban people going to the United States in that way, or indeed to any country. And what he's doing is playing the game of the terrorists and those who seek to divide us. That is exactly the kind of reaction they hope to produce. And I have to say, when Donald Trump says that there are parts of London that are no-go areas, I think he's betraying a quite stupefying ignorance that makes him frankly unfit to hold the office of President of the United States. I would invite him to come and see the whole of London and take him round the city, except that I wouldn't want to expose Londoners to any unnecessary risk of meeting Donald Trump.
Do you think he shouldn't be allowed in the country?
Well, I think it's a free country and you can't stop people unless he's guilty of some criminal offence. I don't know quite how you'd stop him coming to this country. If he wanted to come to the city, we would make every effort to show him the city and show him that he's talking complete nonsense.
Yeah, that basically just says it all, realistically, isn't it? He's Boris is a very good game player. He knows exactly when to say things and when not, and most of the time what will benefit him and what won't.
Well, like Dave said when he's first seen that footage, you can see how composed he is. He's not stuttering.
Yeah.
Your words, lad.
I just thought it was the most professional he's ever sounded in seeing him in a on screen. Just like
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which gives you a little inkling, right? For anyone who sits there and thinks he's just a big buffoon,
Well, yeah.
that there is a mind beneath that mad rug. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that you've
his
got.
windswept hair.
This is the thing that you've got to remember.
My eyes were distracted by the hair. What's nothing?
Yeah, he may have come from privilege. He may have a privileged background, but he did still go to very highly respected educational establishments, and he did achieve.
Where do you learn how to take advantage of the peasant?
Yeah.
Of the common folk.
I want to live like common people. But this is it, is that Boris is a massive game player. Boris is a massive game player.
Like what the peasants eat. Well, I think eggs, chips. Do you know, first that was my girl. Like,
Well,
eggs and
to be
chips.
fair, that's a nice healthy meal for me. That.
Well, let's be fair. Every time there's an election on, and obviously, again, as of recording, there is still an election now, just starting. Whether this continues or bloody God knows what's going to happen next at this point. Every single election, you'll see some of the Conservative Party going to some crappy little fish and chip shop or some greasy spoon cafe and chowing down on either a bacon sarnie or a cone of chips.
It's like, is it like Farage with the pints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the same idea?
It's exactly the same idea as Farage with
I'm
the
one
pints.
of you guys.
Look, I eat people food. Look at this starchy mess of... Have I got to put this in my mouth?
You can actually see the hesitation, can't you? They go,
Mrs. May, don't look as though you're not. You've got to eat the chip, but it looks disgusting. I've never eaten anything like this before. No, Mrs. May, just
pretend it's foie gras.
put some of the red sauce on it. What sauce? Red sauce.
Horseradish.
Why is it called red sauce? Because it's red. What's in it? Nobody knows.
How is it spiced? Flavoured? What is it? It's just red or brown.
That is the only sauces that they have. These common people don't do things like horseradish or foie gras.
God, get me out of here! Get me out of here!
Just put the chip in your mouth. Put the chip in your mouth.
You fucking bitch!
But they all look like robots. Every time one of them eats anything like that, they just look like a robot who can't compute. It's like, I don't understand human.
You've just got me thinking. You've just got me thinking about it can work the other way as well, though. Because remember that picture of Ed Miliband with the bacon butty, and he just got the picture where his mouth's just like.
But Ed Miliband is exactly the same. Ed Miliband may have been for Labour, but he was still
doing
little posh boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. But it was just like, I think he was genuinely just eating a bacon butty somewhere, and someone's just snapped the perfect picture
and
of the most of just like of a certain angle where it's made people think, I'm not voting for that.
No, well, that's how he eats. How's he gonna lead?
He's like a goat.
That's like hangover bacon butty though, isn't it? It's like, that'll be funny, that's how I look, right? When
exactly,
I'm like, see, that would make me vote for him. I'd be like,
yeah, for some reason it backfired. I don't get it.
If he had a bit of stubble around him, right? Not wearing his, like, scruffs, like that, going, oh god.
Like looking like he's hanging, like from a
bottle of Lucozade in his hand.
From a night out with Gove, just like, that Gove can party.
Jesus Christ, my nostrils are killing me.
Bring us back on topic now, and back to Boris. So, one seed, he's gotten over a lot of his gaffes. So he was mayor of London for a while, and all that stuff he took credit for. It still carried on when he actually got into Parliament. He had his great term as Foreign Secretary, didn't he? Where he's just, again, gaff after gaff after gaff. Some of the things he said through his career, you don't understand how he'd even be able to be Foreign Secretary. He turned around and he said black people had watermelon smiles, and
what's that even mean?
Exactly. This is a reaction. This is a politician who said this. He said they had watermelon smiles, and then he turned around and he said about Muslim women look like walking letterboxes. Some of the stuff that he said. I mean, it's funny when you think about the fact that a public figure can do this, but this is the point. He's a public servant.
Yeah, I was just
you cannot do that.
Yeah,
there's ways of putting things across. Because the problem is when you're in the public eye like that, he has to be careful in what he says, because it could be misconstrued. It could be perceived as he's promoting something. Obviously, not everyone interprets things in the same way, and a lot of people take their interpretation as a fact rather than actually clarifying whether that was that person's intent. And it's quite prominent. A lot of people do that. It's not just the odd person. Everyone does it at some point.
I think in the age we are now with social media and stuff, everyone's got an opinion, and if it's an opinion that doesn't agree with what you're saying, it's like mess, isn't it, about it when.
I don't agree with that, dude.
Right, podcast over. No,
podcast over. Yeah. I think this is the thing is. I mean, we do have this social media backlash thing now where everyone's guilty until proven innocent in the court of social media. And as soon as anything happens, then a million people will jump on the bandwagon, because it's unfortunately the world we live in.
That's what I was trying to say.
Sorry, I
stole my line, dude.
All of your thoughts just came into me and came through my mouth.
You stole what very few words I have on this podcast. You stole my one line in this whole episode.
You should have said it properly then.
I've had that written down for weeks. God damn it, Craig.
It's all this Boris talk. I'm just can't talk anymore.
His hair's getting messed up.
There's a difference though. There's a difference between that and a public servant coming out and saying to the press that black people have watermelon smiles.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Do you think I'm trying to interpret
I don't know what he means though, so
Yeah.
I don't know if it's... I don't get it.
I don't know if he even means they've got big smiles.
Or the
right?
or the racial connotations of like black people eating watermelons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
This is it. It's just not on. And then when he was Foreign Secretary, he was on a visit to Myanmar Temple, and the British ambassador who was with him basically told him off because as he's walking round this temple, he's reciting lines from Rudyard Kipling's poem Mandalay. So he's basically walking around a former colony of Britain, quoting colonial lines from an old colonial poem, and he just thought that was fine. He's
Remembering
just
the good old times.
Yeah, he's remembering the good old times, muttering to himself as he's walking around. This is on an official visit to Myanmar by a representative of the British government, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You absolute tit! What are you doing? And the British ambassador standing next to him going, I don't think it's appropriate for you to be reciting that as you walk around. He's like, oh no, is it not? No.
We'll have it back one day.
He says, there's a bit where he even says, and you know full well that Johnson knows that he's mic'd up, because he turns around to him and goes, you know you're on mic.
It's because when he's walking, he's purposely tilting his mouth towards the mic.
Yeah, it's like purposely, it's like this little side sway. But then it's like when he was Foreign Secretary, I don't understand what the thought process was of making him Foreign Secretary. The guy hasn't got a tactful bone in his body.
Yeah, in all fairness, that is a job that you do need to be very careful on what you say. Yeah, it's a job that requires a bit of tact. You are dealing with other people's cultures and people can interpret things the wrong way. It's very easy to do, as I just mentioned. Yeah, it can go really wrong if you say the wrong thing. You can break down relationships that you do have with other countries.
Well, this is what Boris is known for, really.
Oh yeah.
He's went in, hasn't he? That's like he's went in with a big British flag and went, "Fuck you all, Great Britain."
Well, remember in our first episode we were talking about Russia and one guy that we wouldn't want to piss off was Putin.
Yeah.
Well, he decided he was gonna piss off Putin after the poisoning of the Skripals in Salisbury. Yeah. Johnson compared Putin. He turned around and said, Putin hosting the World Cup in Russia was like Adolf Hitler hosting the Olympic Games in Berlin.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, man.
Do you know what? You've kind of got to praise him for that because he's consistent. And all things,
he's a consistent knobhead.
Yes, but where people would shy away from Putin, he's just continued to be himself.
I get what you're saying.
Putin's a dick here, and I'm going to call him for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I get what you're saying, but doing it that way, it's like one of the few things that Theresa May did right was calling out Russia and saying that it was you guys. And then there was like press conferences where she met Putin, and you could see in her face she's just looking at him going, you're a dick and you are not doing this to us again. And then the sanctions started coming and stuff like that, because realistically there's only so much you can do to kind of get your own back on a country like Russia, because they have half of the missiles in the known world. Yeah. And you really, realistically, we can't do anything. You can't do anything. And it's just a game of tit for tat. And unfortunately, the civilised West is less likely to go out and start assassinating random Russians.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, it probably does happen, but it's not something that you hear about that often.
Yeah. I think we'd have more tact.
Yeah, calling out in a public forum and comparing Hitler to Putin when the Russians have got a little sore spot anyway about the World War because their losses were enormous. Yeah. That was probably the wrong way to do it.
For them, the World War only started when they changed sides. If you actually in school they learn.
Oh yeah, they were.
World War II started on this date. Why? Because that's when Russia was with the Allies.
Yeah. That's when the Nazis turned around and went, actually, Russia might be a bit of a problem here, and then attacked them.
Yeah.
Which is, again, another reason why you don't compare any of the Russians to the Germans. That's not going to go down well.
Oh, do you know what? I would love to talk about the war in this,
Well, it's down to our listeners. If you want to hear us cover something like that, then we could cover something like that.
There are some brilliant stories that I just unheard of.
Yeah. We could do a little sideline on a few historical things, but we could do it again when it's coming up in current events, maybe on an anniversary of a battle or something like that. We could do that.
Don't wait till World War III when we can do our podcast while it's happening.
Yeah, live streaming from the bunker. Yeah, that's something that we could do. If the listeners want to hear it, then we could do that. Maybe when we get to an anniversary of a battle or something, we could cover something on former wars that have happened. It'd be something interesting we do. You guys out there who are listening, let us know if that's something you'd be interested in hearing, and we could do that on a future episode.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah.
They are the choices.
We can either do it or we can not do it.
We are democracy after all.
Right, so we're getting back to the man himself, Boris. Well, we've covered, essentially, he's a little bit of a truth bender, shall we say.
Yeah, he's a bit of a fib, a bit of a liar, but you've seen it in his career previously, as we've already mentioned.
Well, one thing we could mention, actually, is something that was relatively recent and kind of went in his favour, is while he was Mayor of London, I think you know a bit more about this, his relationship with a woman called Jennifer Ackery.
Yeah.
That was in the news recently, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is to do with trade missions. Now, for everyone who doesn't know, trade missions are simply when a few companies from one country want to interact with some companies from another country, do some business, whether it be products or services. And sometimes this is generally facilitated by a third party company, and usually to aid things, sometimes political members will get involved to show signs of trust.
This goes on everywhere, yeah?
Yes, it goes on everywhere. I mean, if anyone wants to trade with anyone, I mean, people will obviously go their own routes, but the idea behind these trade missions is you can get a load of group of people that sell maybe a specific product or specific types of products, and then you get a load of companies that want to buy those products, and then hopefully you can get some trade and some interaction there, which is just generally good for the economy.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Now, she registered for one of these companies to go on a trade mission.
Do you know what she was trying to sell?
She has several companies.
Okay.
So the initial one she went under was rejected. So Jennifer registered for the trade missions. Now, one of the missions she was going to go on was, several that she was going on. First two being Malaysia and Singapore were two of the countries that she's going to. Now, on the original company, these were denied. Then she reapplied again using a different company, and then she was allowed in with limited access.
Right, okay.
Then the next one was New York. She got denied for that as well. And then when it comes to Tel Aviv, Boris intervened.
Right,
Boris got her in the door. Now,
Tel Aviv denied her first, yeah?
Well, Tel Aviv didn't really kind of get the chance. Right. She just kind of basically went, Boris went...
Boris just walked up and went, you're coming to Tel Aviv.
Yeah, you're coming in there. So at this point, this is why people are asking, why is Boris getting involved? She's obviously not suitable. She obviously doesn't meet the criteria. Whatever products she's selling, she doesn't have the right products, buying even, or services. She doesn't have the right ones, or she can't fulfil the demand. So there must be reasons why she's not meeting this criteria. Okay. But the fact that Boris is getting involved and getting her in there,
it's a bit unusual.
He's aiding her. He's aiding her business. Now, that he can't really do that.
Politicians can't do that, can they?
They can't intervene to aid one person's business.
No, it's conflict of interest. You can't do anything like that.
So this is where it comes into it. Now, usually this would be passed over to the GLA, the Greater London Authority, because at this point he was, when this all happened, he was Mayor of London.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So technically it should go down to them.
Yeah.
But
because he's mayor.
Or Mayor of London. Yeah. Part of his responsibilities are budgeting in the direction of the police force.
Yeah.
So next thing, it gets passed over to the police, which is an independent office for policing of conduct. So they investigate it then. So then it actually could be a criminal offence, but it seems to have just been...
This was a few weeks ago, this one, wasn't it?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. As of recent, it seems to be just basically passed over. It's just been blown, just been ignored.
It's like a lot of these big stories, though, isn't it? Yeah. It's just, big news, and then just gone like that. It's
Yeah,
like, what
just-
the hell? What happened?
Something else bigger happens, and it just
yeah.
fizzles
Just
out
gets
and
ignored.
disappears.
I think this is it as well, especially in the UK. I mean, the UK, all we've got on the news now is Brexit, and in America, all we've got on the news now is Trump. So it doesn't matter what happens in the meantime.
Everything's dominated.
Everything gets dominated by them.
yeah.
But I mean, it's not confirmed, but it's heavily implied that he was knobbing her, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's implied that there was some connection there. I mean, why would he go out his way so much for it? He doesn't financially gain for it.
Because I know I've seen in the news something about being a former pole dancer and stuff like that, and
Oh,
she
I
had
can see it now. Yeah.
Oh, makes sense.
that Jennifer Acura.
That's okay then.
But yeah, it's something like he gave a company a grant as well. There was something to do with a grant for British-based companies, and her company at that time was based in Britain. But then a couple of journalists did some investigations into it and phoned up the company, and it kept on going through to offices in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it was nothing to do with Britain at all, and it was never in Britain. And then there was like loads of investigations into the person who they said was in their office in Britain, and they'd done like a social media profile that just didn't exist.
Yeah.
So this is another funny one of those stories that we can probably go into a bit of depth on, but again, we're just touching on it now because we're talking about Boris. So it's another dodgy Boris story. This is another funny one. When Johnson actually became mayor, he got criticism in his early weeks of administration because he was unsure of how to retain his current lifestyle while relying on the mayor's salary of £140,000 a year. So he agreed to continue his Telegraph column alongside his mayoral job. So he earned an extra £250,000 a year.
Wow.
Right? His team thought that had caused controversy, so he made him promise to donate a fifth of his fee to charitable causes. And he resented this and didn't pay a full fifth because he's an arse. And then, right, he was questioned about his fee on a BBC programme, Hard Talk, and he referred to the $250,000 as chicken feed. That's how out of touch he is.
Yeah.
250 grand a year. So not only was he getting the 250 grand a year, he was also getting £140,000 a year for being mayor of London.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, pivel, that's chicken food. How am I supposed to feed myself on £250,000 a year?
Wow. That's a very Trump way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
But we're moving on anyway. This is that's a little background into Boris, right? I say a little background, but we
have kind of gone into a fair bit of background into Boris.
So you get an idea of
There's a lot
the
of background on Boris.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover, and we could literally be all day just talking about the random things that he's got up to. But what we've covered so far should give you a good idea of his character.
Or lack thereof.
And most of these are facts that we found out as well.
Yeah,
it?
most of these are confirmed. It's not like it's rumours.
Yes, these are rumours. These are literal
we can show you the videos.
That's the worrying thing about all
played
this.
two of them. They're there. You can find them.
The evidence is there. The footage is there.
It's not like we're just making this up just to gain any form of popularity or not. And this is fact.
Yeah, this is not fake news.
Yeah. Okay, Trump.
Here's Trump. So that wraps up a bit of background about the man. Wow, guys, I think we've really overshot on this one, and there's still a lot of material to cover here.
Yeah, we've gone quite a fair bit into. Well, there is a lot of material. There's a lot of material. I mean, Theresa, God love her. Jesus, that was a hard episode, but there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about on this one. So I think,
but it's a bit more funny. I hope it is. I hope you guys have enjoyed it a lot more than the last one. I know I have. And tune back in next week. We're going to wrap this up. It's going to be the last. Next week's going to be the last one in the
promise.
Yeah, promise. Yeah, we promise. In the Brexit storyline, at a later date, we might
more than likely
give you the summary. Yeah. We might do a one-off summary when it's finally finished in about 4 years time.
Let's see what happens.
Who knows what's around the corner.
For now, we're going to leave this here. We're going to pick it up next week from where we've left off, and we will be rounding up what's happened. So thanks again for listening. If you've got anyone who might want to listen to this, share it on to them. If you're listening on a platform that can give us a rating or a comment, feel free to do so. And again, down in the description, you've got ways to get in touch with us. If you want to do that, give us your suggestions. Like, share, subscribe, pass it on. It only helps us. And if you enjoy the podcast, it helps us grow. We can bring you more content.
Alright, thanks folks. See you next week.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Bye.